All right, off to the interview.
All right, thank you so much for having me. A special edition of Likeable Leaders. We are live on LinkedIn. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook, and we are live on Clubhouse in the What It Takes to Run a $1 Million Business, How to Run a Successful Business, Come In, Speak, or Listen room. I am Dave Kerpen, the host of the Listening and Beyond Summit, and it is my distinct honor and privilege to interview today Mr. Daniel Robbins, serial entrepreneur, podcast host, founder of the What It Takes to Run a $1 Million Club in Clubhouse. Daniel, great to see you. How are you today, sir?
I am doing awesome. I appreciate you. Glad to be here. And thanks for having us in the club as well. That's awesome.
You were not a born entrepreneur. You came from. I looked a little into your background. You made the jump. How did you make the jump from a non-entrepreneur to an entrepreneur? What was the biggest lesson you learned along the way?
I might define myself as a entrepreneur. I'm not a born entrepreneur. I don't even know if I'm even accidental. So basically, I had a job. I was failing college and I dropped out of college because it just wasn't for me. And I didn't know what to do with my life. A friend of mine said, "Hey, if you want to move to Florida with me, I want to start a business." And I just dragged my feet until one day he called me. He said, "Hey, if you don't move literally tomorrow, then you cannot be in this business and don't ever talk to me again." So I had $300 in my bank account. I took that $300 and I bought a one-way plane ticket. I took just one small bag of luggage because my goal was to actually move back to Connecticut where I was from, but I was kind of lost in space. This is when I was 20 years old. So I ended up going there. And when I got there, I told myself I can never go back home. We started that business. Within the year, that business failed. It was a telecommunications dealer store. Man, I learned a lot, but then I went straight into corporate America.
Okay, so that's the corporate America, but you're not in corporate America now. So how did you make the transition back into entrepreneurship? And give me one lesson you learned along the way.
Man, yeah. So I kept moving up corporate America because that's actually what I wanted. And what I found is my wife, Kate, she was the entrepreneur. She started the business and I watched her along the way and she just did so amazing. And I said, you know what? This is what I want to be a part of. So at night, I would work my day job and at night I'd be part of the business. And we did this for many years. I was just fearful of leaving my job to go all in on the business because it really was her thing. So after a couple of years, I went all in and I realized this is how I can impact more people and really live to our mission, which is to impact 100 million entrepreneurs in our lifetime. Also, I realized I'm not really good at working for somebody. I think I have an issue with leadership. So one lesson I learned, I mean, there's so many lessons, but one lesson I can think of right now is financial literacy. I think one thing that we didn't spend enough time on was really understanding finances of the business, how to use your own money. We never took outside money. And now I look back and say, wow, how much easier would have been if I did actually take outside money. So there's all things that I think I could have dug more. Instead of we focus on marketing and sales, we just didn't really spend a lot of time on finance.
Well, I appreciate that lesson, although I will tell you, having built several businesses myself, the one where I raised several $1 million from VCs is the one that's done the poorest. And the ones that I haven't raised money have done, we just exited for 8 figures a couple months ago. So the grass is always greener, my friend. What can I say? What an amazing mission you have to reach 100 million people. That's how did you come up with that massive, big vision and mission? And how's it going so far?
Yeah, so great question. Essentially, most of our businesses were tied into, we have hotels, we have brick and mortar stores, we have some e-commerce. So when COVID hit, it basically shut down the majority of our world because our world, a lot of it is in Asia. And, that's obviously, 3 or 4 months before the COVID hit the US, we were already shut down. So we saw this coming. And it was really the first time in our lives where we got some time to finally sit down and say, what's really important? Because we've always been running, like you said, we have one business and then that business funds another business. Then we start another business. We just continue to do that, but we never actually stop to think what's really important. What are we passionate about? And, we had 3 weeks where literally, the world was shut down. We didn't know when we would reopen. And we said, okay, what's important? We want to always impact people. That's been a life mission. We just never knew how. And so we came up with, I wanted to impact 1 billion entrepreneurs, but honestly, I don't know if there's even 1 billion entrepreneurs. So we said, let's do 100 million. But a lot of it was actually sparked from the Entrepreneurs Organization, which I know you're very familiar with. And the fact that, you have to do over 1 million in revenue, and there's only 2% of the businesses that are doing over 1 million in revenue are women owned. So our first entry to impacting 100 million entrepreneurs was, let's use the audience that we have, the network of women who are doing over 1 million in revenue. Let's get them to share their strategy and tactics specifically to inspire other women to get above that mark.
I absolutely, positively love that mission, and I'm very delighted to hear it. I'm very, very proud of the fact that at Listening and Beyond, one of our core values is inclusivity and representation. And I think that those folks that go to listeningandbeyond.com/labs and learn about the upcoming Listening and Beyond Summit that we'll talk about in just a moment will be delighted to see that the vast majority of our speakers are women and people of color. It is something very, very important to me that we have true a representation and diversity on our stages. And so we will always do that on Clubhouse, on any other media properties that we do, and certainly in live events. Before we get to the summit, I do want to agree with you that EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, has been a life-changing decision for me. We joined after we did our first million, and 12 years later, we've done over 50 million. But more important, I lost 60 pounds. I ran a marathon. I wrote a New York Times bestselling book, and I've become a better father and a better husband and a better human being. I give massive, massive credit to EO. I happen to be the president of the New York chapter right now. And boy, I'm so excited to meet you and Kate, my EO brother and sister from across the country at the summit. So we are getting together people in real life. By the way, if you're watching live, I like to give away books to people that are watching live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And I don't think you have a book yet, Daniel. Do you have a book?
I don't have a book. I don't think I'll ever write one. But Kate's going to have a book one day.
Well, I'm going to give away a copy of my book then, and I will commit to buying you a copy of Kate's book when it comes out. Daniel's wife, Kate Hancock. I will buy you a book, and I will give you one of my books. The only way to win a book is to comment on LinkedIn right now on the LinkedIn live feed. So find us on LinkedIn if you're not yet watching on LinkedIn. And if you're watching on LinkedIn, let me know where you're watching from, what question you have for me or for Daniel Robbins. And every time you make a comment, you enter to win your choice of any of my books, as well as the upcoming Kate Hancock book. Back to the summit. So we're getting together people in real life to hug, to high five, to shake hands, and to get inspired and learn. What you are one of our featured speakers, Daniel Robbins. What will you be talking about at the upcoming Listening and Beyond Summit in New York City?
Yeah, so something that I'm really excited to talk about is how we built this amazing community here on Clubhouse. I think it's something I've never really been that active on social media, and we've been building communities outside. And I think here, this is something I'm probably most proud of, though, when it comes to anything around social media, because this group of people here, the people on this stage right now, the people, we have a few hundred people in a chat on the back. I mean, these people give minute after minute, day after day. Like I said, we've done 33 days straight right now. Over 200,000 people have come in this room, and we've been answering hours and hours of questions. So I want to talk through how this community came to be, how we built the community, how the community has been nurtured. And not only that, there's so many amazing people that send us messages. I know everyone on here gets these messages as well about how a community on a social media app can actually change somebody's life. I think it's so important to spread that message, to talk about how to do it so other people can also do the same.
That's absolutely amazing. 200,000 people served. Just unbelievable. And I have to believe, again, there may not be a ton of short-term ROI, but there's got to be a lot of long-term ROI in giving in that service at that incredible level of scale. Have you noticed over the course of the last few weeks and the 200,000 people served, any individual leads or opportunities or stories that stand out in your mind, Daniel?
Yeah. So, I mean, I get a lot of responses around people that are in the room. And like you're saying, they're generating leads. We don't really do much to generate leads ourselves because this is really more about the impact. Also, we have gotten a lot of messages, people want to maybe do business or partnerships, things like that, sponsorships, other things that we're, always looking into, always open to. But I can tell you, I've gotten numerous messages, though, if we look back 30 some odd days ago around how people have implemented what they've done. And now 30 some odd days later, they come back on stage and they talk about it. And it's really amazing how people have done that. And just, I got a message yesterday how there's a certain person that was on stage. They have such a fear of speaking that literally just being in this room has gotten them over the speaking. And now they're speaking on social media. They're looking at speaking engagements, but they always had this fear, and how this room has helped them overcome that, which has been absolutely amazing.
Love it. If you're just joining me, I'm live on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Clubhouse with Daniel Robbins, entrepreneur, podcaster, game changer, and upcoming speaker at the Listening and Beyond Summit in New York City, July 29th and 30th. For more details on that, go to listeningandbeyond.com/LABS, and you can actually use a Daniel's discount code. I think it's Daniel10. I hope it's Daniel10 for 10% off at the lab summit. Before we wrap up, and I know we have to wrap up because there are hundreds of people in your clubhouse room waiting to ask questions and waiting to be amongst the 200,000 that you have served in the last few weeks, which is insane. If you could go back, tell your younger self, let's go say 10 years ago, and tell your younger self one thing, or, you're in the movie Back to the Future. You can't bet on sports teams. That's the only thing I won't allow. But if you could go back and tell your younger self one thing to help prepare you for the roller coaster that is entrepreneurship, what would it be? What would you go back and tell your younger self?
Yeah. So don't live in fear. So something that's held me back, and the reason why I never started my own company, I actually tried 6 times. I had 6 really amazing ideas that I started that eventually somebody else actually did, and it became successful. But the problem is I have fear. I let fear overtake me, and that's been a big thing. So if I can go back and tell myself, something younger is don't live in fear, because the fear that's in your mind is probably not reality. And, there's so many reasons why you should be doing something, but for some reason, that one reason that you shouldn't just sticks in my head and has really held me back.
Well, I absolutely love that. Here, I'm going to try something I've never tried before because I like innovating. We're gonna see if anyone on Clubhouse has a question for you during this makeshift LinkedIn Live and YouTube and Facebook and Clubhouse room. So if you are on the Clubhouse stage and you have a question for Daniel Robbins, flash your mic, and I will see if I can get a couple more questions in before we lose you at the top of the hour and get back to business. All right. So the value coach, what is your question for Daniel Robbins?
Hey, Daniel. Super, super excited. I love hearing your background story. I didn't know that you were from Connecticut. I live here now. So what would it take to get a lunch with you to come back to Connecticut so that you and I can meet face to face?
Wow. So I actually still have one. My father still lives in Connecticut, so I do need to get back there, although I hate Connecticut. So one day I'll let you know.
How about come to the Listening and Beyond Summit? It's New York City is right up the street from Connecticut. I'm just saying.
That's exactly what I'm doing, actually. That was my plan.
All right. Thank you for your question. We have time for one more question. Anyone want to ask? Now is your opportunity to ask Daniel Robbins anything. I see Jess. Jess, Tiffany, what is your question for Daniel Robbins?
Yeah, Daniel, I was curious how you did finally overcome your fear and move on to this new level.
Yeah, so I think just having an amazing group of people. I've joined a lot of different communities and organizations, and just being around those people, seeing what they're doing, and having a partner like my wife. We partner in everything. She has been just absolutely amazing in my life.
Okay, and I said one more, but that was fast. I like conciseness, Daniel. You and I are going to be as close friends as I have suspected all along. Now we have time for one more question. I think I saw a mic flash earlier. Last chance to flash your mics if you have a question.
I see Srujan flashing his mic, Dave.
Who is? I'm sorry. Oh, Srujan. Yes, the lead mod that we totally rudely interrupted. So I apologize for that. And please go ahead. What is your question for Daniel Robbins? You're live on 4 platforms.
Hey, thank you, Dave. And my question for Daniel is, we all understand that our life partner can make or break our entrepreneurial journey. So what type of a life partner should I choose? Like what type of qualities do we choose?
Wow. I don't know if I'm an expert to speak on that, but I can tell you for me, it's been somebody who compliments me. So I know that, Kate is a better at leading than I am. So I know I know my role and she knows her role in all aspects of our life and business. So I think if you have somebody who compliments you, who has different strengths than you, I think it's always a good match. But also we both really like to travel and we both really like to laugh. So those are 2 things that have always stuck with us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your questions. I want to thank everyone that is watching on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. I want to thank everyone that's listening on Clubhouse. I want to thank you, Daniel Robbins, for taking some time out of your super busy day to join me live and deal with the technology challenges of trying to coordinate all of this in the middle of the day. Anyone that is watching or listening that's interested in learning more about the Lab Summit, Listening and Beyond, Change Your Business, Change Your Life, New York City, July 29th and 30th. Go to listeningandbeyond.com/labs. You can use the code Daniel10 for 10% off. And I am going to check my LinkedIn comments right now to give away some prizes, some books to people that are commenting. And I'm gonna have to keep their contact info for a long time. When is Kate's book coming out, Daniel Robbins?
I have no idea. Maybe the next year. I forgot too. We're actually, I'm going to also talk about not just Clubhouse, but how we built our hotel brand, Ventana Sapariso, using the same strategy of community. Forgot to talk about that. But yeah, one day I'll let you, probably in the next year.
I will track that over time. You will get, if you comment and I pick you, not only my book, but I will keep in touch with you. You will get Kate Hancock's. You will be one of the first people on the planet to get Kate Hancock's book next year when it comes out. Until next time, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Daniel. Have a super likable day, everyone.
Thanks so much, Dave.
Thank you.